Hello everyone, this is Vasudesh Pandey from EasyLib Software Private Limited at Bangalore. This topic of presentation today is e-governance in higher education. The original presentation of the same was done at Sri Katil Durga Parameshwari First Grade College in Katil, Bangalore, and I'm really thankful to them for suggesting this topic. And over 200 academicians, including principals, professors, and the librarians, and then faculty attended this, and then we got a very good feedback. So, re-recording the same one for the benefit of larger audience. So this presentation is made in seven parts. We are going to go over in detail in each of these. Starts with the background, then levels of e-governance. That's a new thing that has been specifically prepared for this presentation. Then pillars, the areas in higher education that are influenced by the e-governance. Then how do you implement it? What are the approaches? And what are the key risks that you would like to watch and then mitigate? And then references. So this is the complete presentation, probably about an hour or so it should take. So let's get started. Sometime back, the CEO of UPS, United Parcel Service, that's a company that's a competitor to FedEx, the DHL, or India Post, US Post, and so on, made a statement. He said, "We are an information technology company. Hear this. We are an information technology company and we happen to ship goods to our customers." So, this statement gives significance of the information technology in any business. So if you look at even other companies also, right? Like Uber. Uber is the biggest taxi cab operator in the world, but it doesn't own any taxis. Similarly, the Airbnb, which helps people get the accommodation, but it doesn't have any hotel rooms of its own. Similarly, the Make My Trip, you book your tickets, but it doesn't own any of the aeroplanes, ships, or buses or trains. And Google Pay, many of us use it. It's not a bank, but we use it for payments. So underlying thing behind all this is the information technology, whether you call it as e-governance or e-business, but information technology plays a key role in all these companies. So let's go to the next slide over here. So if you look at how the spread of the e-governance has been in India, this is the slide from Ministry of Information Technology over here. You name it, pretty much every item related to the government is covered by the e-governance. You start with the finance sector, social distribution, health initiatives, rural development initiatives, the Digitalker to store your identity cards and so on. Then police, skill development, manufacturing, insurance, and so on. And of course, education is one thing which is greatly influenced by the e-governance. So let's go with where does e-governance start? So I took some time to come up with certain levels of the e-governance. The first one is the basic one, starts with using as simple as Excel, and the last one so far comes with external integration. We'll go over each of the slide in the next few minutes over here, and everything else is in between. And if the same presentation were to be made about 2 or 3 years later, probably we'll have 9 or 10 also, level 9 and level 10. So let's go to the first one. So, what are the levels of the maturity of the e governance? Let me go to the next slide. Okay, so initially you started with your e governance journey with simple tools like Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, LibreOffice, and so on. So, this is where you basically did the data entry, probably took the reports, and it definitely made your work faster. And then you share it by email to the relevant people, and then you have the opportunity to reuse that material. But that is still the beginning. Of course, it's a baby step, and then brought in a great amount of improvement over the manual work, but it is still the very beginning step that you have taken. So that's the level one. So very little of automation is there, and most importantly, the reports are after the fact. For example, in the higher education, right, you are submitting an attendance report for the month. One particular student has been absent for about 20 days. So the report says he has been absent for 20 days, but it's after the fact. Already the 20 days have been lost. But now, what are you going to do? So instead of that, can we have real time? So let's go into the next levels over here. Okay. The other issue with this Level 1 is a lot of data duplication over here. The names are duplicated, the information is duplicated, the statistics don't tally all the time. No, it's sometimes a cause of a big mess. But of course, it's a starting point for any e-governance journey. Then the level 2 over here. Level 2 over here brings a significant improvement because you are not using individual after the fact reporting tools. Instead, you are trying to automate certain things. For example, you may use a tally for your accounting purpose. You outsource your website development to a developer. They'll come up with a beautiful website for you. Then you have a system for your library. Independently, it's running over here. So the library team uses. So you have got the physical library management. Then for the digital library, you have another software. Then you want to conduct the surveys, you have another software over here. Then you want to do the attendance, you have another software. So basically, in the level 2, you have applications spread out all over your organization. 10, 20, 50 applications you have got to manage over here. So, what is the advantage of this? Definitely, it's obvious improvement from the manual work. So, lot of manual work is eliminated, and reporting is relatively faster and easier also because you just go to the library system, get the report of the library. You just go to the digital library system, you get the digital library reports, and similarly the surveys, financial accounting, and so on. And reasonably they are less expensive as well. For example, you pay about 20, 15,000, 20 or 25,000 and you get a beautiful accounting system. You outsource the development to somebody for the website. Maybe he will charge about 20,000 rupees, but that's it. So you got your website. Similarly, the library software system and so on. So relatively less expensive and easy to start as well. But the advantage of this depends on the who is in charge in that area. If that gentleman is interested, he will automate. Otherwise, it may not get automated. But what is the issue that you are facing? You have all the system, but they're all scattered around. Tally doesn't talk to the library system. Physical library system doesn't talk to the digital library system. And there is a whole new system for the feedback surveys, attendance, and so on. There is no relationship between all these systems. Each has its own data, is operating in its own world over here. So even though you have got huge amount of productivity at the individual level, collectively you are having a lot of systems and it's a nightmare to manage and get the real data of what is where. And most importantly, your intelligence of your operations is limited to that particular system alone. So really they are not integrated. Okay, and of course another issue is with the duplication of the data. For example, there is a student over here, the same information is in tally, same information in digital library system, e-library system, then physical library, then you have got the survey, attendance has another information, the timetable has different information, and so on. The data is all duplicated all over, and there could be contradiction as well over here. So that's an issue with the level 2 of the applications in the um, systems. But the good news is that many colleges are already in level 2 and you can only go do better by going to the level 3. So let's see what is level 3 over here. So level 3, you have all the applications. What you are going to do over here, you are going to try to get systems which do multiple functions over here. For example, rather than getting 10 different systems or 50 different systems, you will probably get about 3 or 4 systems or maybe 5. Okay. So for example, the ERP system may have admission, student information, staff, exams, timetable, and so on. This is one system. And when you go with an library management system like EasyLib, right? You get a physical library management, digital library, learning management, in-out management, display board management, getting the reports and all that. Anything related to the library, physical library, digital library, visitor management, all of that is available in EasyLib. So definitely better than getting 10 different systems to handle different portions of the library because now you have one EasyLib which does 10 things for your library. Similarly, when it comes to the accounting system, you may want to get the one that has got inventory management, service desk, sales desk, and the finance and so on. So you reduce the number of applications over here. Here, what you are doing is in the previous one, you got independent applications. In this level 3, you are getting integrated applications which will do lot more things for your organization. Obviously, the advantage over here is that so the applications are merged, so less number of applications, relatively easy to manage. Okay, and you really can eliminate some of the manual work over here. But now, what is the disadvantage here? So again, these two are not talking to each other, right? The ERP doesn't talk with library and vice versa, and which is totally independent of the tally. Okay, so now question comes: can we get one application which does everything? You know, that's a dream. Why? The definition of everything is constantly changing. So there cannot be any one application in the world which does everything that your organizations can do. So, what can you get best? So, which is much bigger than what it was. For example, when you go with EasyLib earlier used to be the only the library management package, physical library. Then we added the digital library module. Then we added the learning management. Then we added the visitor management. Then we added the kiosks and displays, reporting. Now we have added a lot more functions, including admissions, attendance, student information, staff information, examinations, timetable, internship, placement, transport, hostels, and so on. And then the inventory management, sales desk, service desk, finance are all in the pipeline. So you are going to get one big integrated system when you go with EasyLib. But is that the end? Can EasyLib do everything over here? Probably not. It can do lot more things, but not everything. Okay. So now what is the step? What we need to do in this case? Let's go to the next step. That is the level 4. In the level 4, what you are going to do? You are going to integrate multiple systems here. In the level 3, you got integrated systems. Level 4, you will integrate multiple systems over here. For example, if you have EasyLib 6.4 and another application for your ERP, there are enough routines in EasyLib which will send the data to ERP through either could be the FTP part, it could be the APIs, and it could be the other processes that are available for the applications to talk to each other. So the data can from EasyLib can go to ERP and vice versa. It can go to Tally and vice versa, and other applications and so on. So here, what you are doing differently is that you first buy the integrated applications, then you integrate them among themselves. So you use the API based. API stands for Application Programming Interface. For example, many of you may have used one option in EasyLib wherein you just put the ISBN, click a button, it goes somewhere and gets the entire title, author, subject, call number, and all other details. How does it get? We integrate using the API with another application which has got the repository of all the books published in the world. So that's an example of API. Similarly, if the ERP wants to call an EasyLib to find out what is the due on a student, they just have to call the API. And EasyLib in turn will respond saying that this is the information. And similarly, if EasyLib requires another information from the ERP, it can call the API provided by the ERP application. So this is eGovernance over here. Okay, so e-governance with the integration of the system. So you are integrating multiple systems over here. So the advantage here, all systems are talking to each other, and you have the ability to expand the application usage to multiple areas. Okay, and probably you will eliminate some duplicates also, right? Because the moment a student is added in ERP, a trigger can be made to EasyLib to add the same student into the library system. Okay, when there is a fine over here, it can send a trigger to the ERP system saying that this much is the fine due from the student over here. So that kind of integration and elimination of duplicates is possible when you integrate the system. But you know what is the disadvantage you are finding here? The expenses will start building up for sure. When you had gone independent applications, 50 different applications, you might have paid 10,000, 15,000 to all those 50 of them. So your total expense might have been about 5 lakh rupees for 50 applications. But when you want to get an integrated application and then do the system integration, it will come up with lot of advantages. But at the same time, you got to be ready to spend, and you got to be ready to invest on the infrastructure improvement and the application integration. Just as a thumb rule, many of the organizations in the world spend about 3% of their revenue, 3% of their revenue on the information technology. You may validate whether are you at 1%, less than 1%, 2%, or 3%. And for the organizations that are totally running on the information technology, right, that expense can be as big as 20-30% also. It's the IT brings you lot of tools to manage your operations. So definitely you got to invest sufficiently in that. The second one, you need somebody who is conversant with all these things. Either you hire that person who will help you integrate everything, or you take the help of a company like EasyLip, which will help you do the integration. So first step, you want to get the applications which are as integrated as possible. Then the second step, you want to integrate this new application with the rest of the applications. So that is the level 4 of the e-governance. Only risk or the primary thing that you want to watch here is that when you give the contract to any else vendor, you want to make sure that you have done enough due diligence, because the system integration is powerful but at the same time not easy, and it need to be handled very carefully. Okay, now let's go to the number 5 of the e-governance. Here, what you are doing here is that you are bringing the analytics in picture. In the level 1, you just did the data entry. Level 2, you use some of the applications to improve the productivity. Level 3, you try to integrate this or get the integrated applications. Level 4, you integrated multiple applications. Level 5, in the analytics, you are trying to get the insights on the data over here. Say, for example, if a student is absent for last continuously 3 days, the software can give a trigger saying that this kind of students are becoming absent. So you know what need to be done over here. Okay, so lots of charts, graphs, comparative reports are the key things in the level 5 of e-governance over here. And you also do the things like analyzing the correlation between different things over here. So how much is the spent on time spent on the library, how much is the impact of spending time at the library onto the score the student is getting over here. And it can be even things like how much time the student was spending in the extracurricular activities in the college when he was a student, and now compare it with his earning level or the position in his profession. So you can come up with the cause and the result. So that kind of things are possible when you go with level 5 of e-governance, that is the analytics over here. Okay, so the different things like quality of the teaching, the impact on the student performance, the timing, all the different things you define what is the things that you want to measure, and use the necessary tools and the software to come up with the analysis over here. So what is the advantage over here? Here, this where the innovation comes over here. You can do the innovation which will help you and your organization stand ahead. If everybody has deployed the same software, and if you have done extra work of coming up with the analytics, obviously you are at the forefront. Okay, so this can even become key differentiator for your organizations here. Okay, and this is also the next step. This is also the primary step for moving to the next step. And now, what are the disadvantages? Obviously, one is the expenses that we talked about, right? The investment. Then the next is maturity of the staff is required. The software may do a lot of things. It can even guide also, but at the same time, you should have the inclination as well as the maturity in the staff, the level of training on how to use the software and what kind of analytics to do, and what kind of after analytics actions you are going to take over here. And good amount of discipline is required in both running this application as well as taking the steps after the analytics results are found. And when the data comes back with the certain results, it may even cause the heartburn over here, because if the data says that this XYZ professor needs improvement, it may be totally contradictory to your previous belief that this particular staff was the best. So you got to be ready to handle that kind of surprises. When you analyze the data, you will get the reality over here. But this is the level 5 of your governance, which will help you improvise your operations. Now let's go to the level 6. In the level 6, what you are going to do, you will not just stop at the analytics. You will ask the software to come up with the prediction. So what are the predictions? For example, in the level 5, the software can tell these many students are coming over in the library, and morning 8 to 10, these many, 10 to 4, these many, 4 to 8 these many. So it's giving a graph comparison how the things are going, what initiatives is helping attract more students to the library, and what are the things that are helping you get the better scores and so on. But now in the predictions, this is also going to tell, okay, the library load between 10 and 4 is this much, and you need to either increase the staff by 2 people or reduce the staff, okay, at that period. So it can even come back and tell that, hey, you are opening the library from morning 8 to 7 o'clock, but we see that the number of students at 6:55 just before the library closes is much higher. So the software would recommend now saying that you open the library till 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. These are things over here. So the software not only does the analysis, it will also come up with the predictions on saying that, okay, what are the library timing? How many books would you need to purchase? Which vendors are most likely to give the books on the time? Which areas you should teach also? Okay, so that level, which areas you should teach? Let me go into the next one over here. But here at least you will know which are the ones which are really popular over here. For example, simple, right? If you have got 20 students studying X subject and another 20 studying Y subject, and if your data placement data in the ERP, by the way, we have got the complete ERP system. ERP system can tell that the people who got X have been getting, let's say, A amount of salary. The people who have been studying Y have been getting zero point 0.7 of A. So the software can tell you have got the relationship between this particular subject and the earning, other subject and the earning. So the software will tell you focus more on this particular one because that's where more demand is there. So it helps you do the predictions over here. So here the IT is no longer something that will help you basic productivity improvement, get the reporting it in one place, get the data, store the data in all one place. Not just it analyzes the data, comes back with predictions on how and where you want to intervene and do the changes. If you think in the higher education, it could be like, it could be the probable score of a student. The software can come and tell you that if you ask your students to take this particular 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 assignments, you may expect your students to get, let's say, 78% marks. But if you ask, let's say, 8 assignments, if they do, you may increase the score by at least another 4 more points. So that kind of predictions the software can do over here. So that is the level 6 of e-governance here. So the advantage here, all decisions become data government. Okay, there is a solid backing of the data before you take a decision, and it can really give you a competitive advantage among all your peers. Now, what is the flip side? It expects that you invest and also you do not tolerate the mediocre performance. The software can do all the recommendation, analysis, recommendation, but you need to act. That is when you can get the real benefit of this predictions over here. Okay, now let's go to the number 7 of the levels. In this is the now number level 7. Okay, in the number 5 you did the analysis. Number 6 you got the predictions. Number 7 next level is autopilot mode. Those of you who have flown in the aircraft, you can see the aircraft engine or the aircraft system is many times running on autopilot mode over here. You set your coordinates where you want to land. Probably the software is intelligent enough to increase the speed, reduce the speed, or go left, right, straight, up, down based on the different conditions, including the weather, the wind speed, the direction where you are going, and all that. This is called autopilot mode. So the question in the higher education is how much of autopilot mode can you implement in your organizations over here? So that brings a major advantage for you because many of the regular things you can put it on the autopilot mode and you can focus on the one that really require attention. So it reduces the strain on the operations here, right? So that way you can focus on the real things that matter for your organizations. So here system influences the operations. How should the entire education system run? This is on driven by the application information technology backbone. For example, the timetable and substitution, right? So you feed in the data of the number of classes to be conducted, what are the subjects, what are the rooms available, what are the teachers available, how many hours each subject need to be taught, and so on. And then you hit a button, the software comes up with auto timetable over here. And then it can go one step ahead. Say, for example, the timetable says that okay, XYZ people have to take the class today, right? And if the Y is absent, automatically the software goes and modifies the timetable to put another staff into over here. So that's the automatic substitution over here. So it can even generate the question papers. You feed in the 1,000 questions, the software analyzes what is the student's level. Based on that, to give him more challenge, it will come up with the question paper which is slightly tougher than his own ability over here. So you want to make sure that the students constantly improve in their academic performance. So the software can do a lot of automation and then come up with the new question papers. It can even conduct the mock test over here. So the moment 40 students come and sit in the class, the software can open and then give the question papers, all different, designed for each student over here, right? So where you use it, it's up to you, but definitely the software can do the wonders related to, and it can have a lot of algorithms to help you run the organization in autopilot mode. Some of the other things like what chapter the student should study, so how much time he should spend, what time to what time he should study, and so on. Because if the student has got X, Y, Z in 5 subjects, the software can analyze and tell the student, hey, you need to spend about approximately 4 hours on the subject A, subject B, 1 hour on subject C, and so on. So whatever manually you would have thought and recommended the student, the software comes and tells him this is what you should study. So the moment a student logs in on his mobile, rather than telling him that these are the 4 subjects that you need to study today, based on the timetable alone, it will also analyze and tell these are the 4 subjects and this is the amount of time the software recommends that you study over here. So imagine the productivity improvement that your organization is giving to the students, because the software is doing all the hard work of calculation, coming back and telling him that this is what you need to study. And then that definitely can help in eliminate the duplication in the study, and help the student give the right amount of focus on the right subjects, and overall improve the academic performance. Obviously in the academic performance, when it improves, right, probably the contribution of the student in the professional life will be much higher. So other things are like sending the notification, and this is an interesting system. Can turn on the AC in the campus, AC on or off. It can find out what is the temperature outside, and when is the next class starting, how long the class is going to go on, and based on that, it can automatically turn on the AC in the rooms where the classes are going to be held, right? So obviously, it will save you a lot of time and effort and increases the convenience. The next one is stationery, right? It can keep a track of all the stationery in the college. And whenever the stationery level in one department goes down, and if the other department has got more, automatically it can trigger a intra stationery transfer from one department to another department. And if all the departments are running low on the stationery, it can create a purchase order to the vendor who is supplying the items at the lowest cost at the fastest amount of time, and the principal or the purchase officer will directly get the recommended purchase order. He can click a button and the purchase order can go to that particular vendor. And one step ahead, it can even release the purchase order also. If it is less than 1,000 rupees, if we have set up as the threshold in 1,000 or 10,000 rupees, it can even issue the purchase orders, right? So lot of automation you can do over here. So that way you will focus your time and energy on the ones that really matter, and the ones that are regular activities you let the system do, and system also use its own intelligence to help you manage your organization. Okay, so what are the disadvantages and the things that you should watch over here? One is the obviously the budget factor, because if the software goes and recommends the stationery worth of 10,000 rupees to be purchased based on the recommendations in the autopilot mode, but if you have not allocated enough budget, right, that PO will not get paid. So that kind of things will be there. So you want to make sure that those things are addressed. Second one, sometime you may find it rigid, right? Because it's all done on automatic, there is no human aspect to it. So you may find it rigid, but obviously it's your call on to what extent you want to implement the system's recommendations, and what autonomous things that the system should do on its own. That level you can decide. Now go to the next level. Okay, this is even much more advanced. What you are doing over here? Here you are doing the external integration over here. In the previous step, autopilot mode considers all the factors in your college. In the next step, you implement the external integration. For example, the software will go and log into the LinkedIn, Indeed.com, and other job sites, find out how many openings are there in different fields. Based on that, and it will also analyze what are your strengths in the college. Based on that, it will come and tell you, dear professor, these are the three subjects you need to add to your syllabus. Right? So here it's analyzing the external data, taking the internal data, clubbing them, using all the analytics, and coming up with the recommendations on what you need to do. Right? So that's one example of external integration. Another example, it can go to weather site, finds out if there is going to be heavy rain in the city the following day. What it can do, it can automatically modify the timetable to have all the classes start 1 hour late the following day. And it can even send an SMS and alert to all the students. The college timings are not going to be from 10 to 5 o'clock today. Instead, it's going to be 11 to, let's say, 4 o'clock based on the weather pattern. And it will also automatically modify the timetable so that no classes are missed to the good extent. Now, in the absence of this, what you would have done, the student would have tried to come to the college on the time. Half the students would come, half the students would not come. They are hit by the weather, so it's all mess. And many times the classes even do not get conducted. But when you have done the level 8 of e-governance, the software is doing all the hard work that you would have done by yourself and telling you this is what you should do, or even go and implement it if you have given the authority over here. So whether and what to teach, the job market, these are only some of the examples. There could be even things like the credit history before hiring, right? The person's reputation index, how much he has published elsewhere, right? All of that data the software itself can analyze and come back and tell whether this particular applicant for the position of faculty, how much fit he is in the organization. So level 8 can bring wonders for your organization, but you got to um, go step by step and integrate with the organization that have already opened their systems for external integration. That is going to be the key thing over here. So the key thing here is that you need to give a consistent attention to implementing this. And on the advantage side, right, lots of insights and then unlimited scope for growth is what you are getting through the external integration. So I hope the journey of this level 8 levels, right, has been interesting. We started with simple Microsoft Excel or Word, then small applications independent. Then we try to get the bigger applications. In the level 4, we did the integration. Level 5, we analyze the data. Level 6, we come up with the predictions. Level 7 was autopilot, and level 8 is external integration. Imagine the level of the e-governance from level 1 to level 8 you have gone through, right? So that's a tremendous amount of scale up when you go from level 1 to level 8. So this slide covers the pillars of the e-governance. What are the things you should consider when you are implementing? There are primarily four things that can be considered over here. The first one is obviously the people, right? The people need to support your change in the organization. There is a book by Professor John P. Cotter. He has written Leading Change. What are the different things that you need to consider over here? How do you bring the sense of urgency? How do you actionize? How do you motivate the people, right? All of these, I would highly recommend you to read this book. The first pillar of the e-governance is the people. They need to have the processes in place. So, different processes you need to define upfront, then build the software based on that, or otherwise do an alternate way wherein you get a good software, alter your processes to suit the what the software does. So it's in your hand. The third one is you want to make sure that the technology that you get is robust and the people are well prepared as well as the enthusiastic to support in the technology change, right? The last one is the resources part, where you need to allocate enough sufficient resources to make the things happen. So this is the pillars part. In this slide, right, we will cover what are the areas you will have e-governance implemented in your college. The first one is the academic function that includes admissions announcement. It starts with the campaigns, then admissions, student information, staff, exams, timetable, attendance, faculty quality improvement, and so on. Primarily, all the academic functions is one category. The second is finance and administration function, wherein fee collection is covered, earning and expenses, inventory management is there, what are the computers we have got, buildings you have got, stationery and so on. Service desk is there whenever there is a problem, who should the staff reach to? There's a service desk application. New projects, what all projects you are taking up, are you tracking? All that is in the financial administration. Then there is a third function, student activities, including outreach activities that you have, events you conduct, what are the projects you will take for the students, internships, placement, alumni management, the donor relationship. You are basically interacting with the students on a constant basis under the third function. The fourth one is the library and the information center, right? So that includes the physical library, the books, journals, and so on. There is the digital library, all the PDF copies, the e-books, the textbooks, called lecturer notes, question papers, all that you want to make sure that's all available for the students' use. The digital library portion, the learning management. When I log in, I should see what all I should study. I click a button, it should make my learning experience very smooth. So that is the part of the library management software. Then there is a visitor management, how many people are visiting the library, when are they visiting, how much time they are spending, all that thing over here. And then lastly, the opaque part, online public access catalog system, should be accessible on the mobile, should be accessible on their regular PCs, and many more functions, right? So that's the library function. And lastly, the other areas, because again, there's nothing like everything, right? Or the definition of the everything is too big. There are many more things that's covered in the other areas part. But at least these four plus one, five functions is what you want to cover when you go with the e-governance. We're almost at the end. Okay. So the next, the process of implementation. How do you implement the e-governance? Level journey, level 1 to level 8 is very involving, right? So what you want to do is, before you get started with the journey of the e-governance, you do a strategic planning. Sit with your management, sit with your get management, academic staff, the student representative, or the parents. Get everybody in one place, come up with what exactly you would like to do in your organization next 5 years with respect to the strategy, not necessarily the technology or the software system, but the strategy. What all new courses you are starting, how much is the growth in the number of the students, how many staff, how many campus you are going to have. Make sure that that strategic plan is completed before you getting into the IT plan. So the next step is systems plan. You decide what are the softwares that you require over here. One, two, three, four academic functions, administrative functions, library functions, all that you define. Then you go to the technology part, which software that you want, or what kind of things, which all areas require the technology, right? Software, which of them you are going to do manually. So have the broad idea of the technology. Then you go with the broad schedule. Come up with a schedule of what you want to implement it. Of course, this is all the planning part right now. You're only doing the scheduling as per the plan. Then you go to the market, get the estimation. How much would it cost to automate this portion? How much would it cost to automate this portion? How much would it cost to integrate? And can we have a system which does everything? All that thing that you do over in the estimation. Then you go back to the management, get the funding approval. So you want to do all this exercise before you directly jump in and then start, because you don't want to be in a situation where you start an initiative, then you find that you don't have enough funds. That's not a good scenario. So you want to make sure you break up the things, come up with what you want to do, get the funding approval for next 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year. Even though you may want to spend them in a much later point of time, get the approval for your funding. Then the next is all implementation part, wherein you allocate your own resources who will work on that. Finalize the vendors. Vendors, you want to consider them as partners, not just vendor wherein you go buy something, get it, and then done. That is not the case. In the previous versions of the software, you go get a CD of the software, buy the CD, deploy it, and then run it by yourself. That was the practice. But no longer it's like that. You and your vendors are partners in the growth. So you keep your vendors happy, vendors will keep you happy. You give your clear requirements to the vendor, vendor can give you the better reports. You make the vendor, you keep your commitments to the vendors with respect to the payment schedule and so on. Vendors will deliver on time. So this is a partnership. Vendors are as good as extension of your organization. So no longer you can call them as vendors. I think probably you should call them as a partners in the growth, right? Work with them as if they are your team members. Then the next step is deployment. Then you want to do the parallel run. So parallel run, let's focus on that. If you have X system and then you have come up with a Y system, here the parallel run is important, wherein you run the X in parallel to the Y. Both of the systems run at the same time, and if they're running good, they should also give the exact results, right? Matching results. That reduces a lot of heartburn when the new system that you're trying to implement does not work, right? So the both of them, X and Y, should run parallelly, and if there is a problem, you should know immediately, rather than after all the deployment is done, then if the reports are not matching, that's a big problem. So you try to find out the issues with the new system upfront. Okay, that's a parallel run. Then once you're satisfied, go live. That's you're done with that particular phase. Then you go back to the next level wherein you have already the schedule. Pick up the next item in the schedule. Do a review of the estimates again. Get the funding approval. Then again you start with the same cycle of allocating the resources, vendors, deploy parallel run, and so on. Then go to the next level. That is when gradually you can move from level 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way till 8 or even higher. So common things you want to remember, impact analysis you should do, because if you already have one system, you are trying to implement a new system, make sure that the new system works well with the other systems which are not getting changed, right? So that's important. So that's the impact analysis. Identify the risks. What are the risks that you may face? We'll cover that portion also over here. Okay. Then the training plan, how you are going to train all your staff. If you have got about 500 staff over here, the moment you implement the new application, not everybody is going to be upfront, not everybody is going to be ready to use the application or prepared to use the application on day one, right? You got to conduct enough trainings over here. So very important in application deployment. Then the communication plan, how you are going to keep the people up to date on what's happening in your organization. Then the regular status reporting. All of these are part of the process of implementation. There is an exam called PMP, run by Project Management International. That's one of the most toughest exams that I have attended, and I'm also happy to tell I cleared it. Okay, the exam. So that really helps you how to do the project planning better, how to execute it better, how to document better, and so on. So that way, the success rate of your project is much higher. So that's a PMP exam. You can do Google and find it out. So we talked about the risks, right? What are the risks in the e-governance? The first risk that I see in many places is the unclear scope, right? The management tells, I want this. The people who hear this don't document. They go and tell to another person. That other person doesn't document and goes and tells something. So ultimately you want this one, but what gets developed is something else, totally different. So the first risk in e-governance is the unclear scope. So very first thing that you want to make sure that you implement in your organization is documentation. Everything that you discuss must be documented, and an email of what has been discussed, what has been agreed, must be sent to all the people who attended as well as have certain stake in that particular project. The next risk that I see over here, the junior staff or the one level up may have a grand plan, but if the management is not supporting, what are you going to do over here? So, very first thing that you want to do is make sure that your management, the sponsor, is aligned to your project. So you make sure your management, the sponsor, is aligned to your project, and you work on the things in coalition with the management, rather than you trying to do something else. Management has a different plan, so that you don't want to do. So get the sponsor upfront in the project. The third part here, tendency to copy what someone else has done. You go and visit one college, you find that okay, wonderful investment they have done. That's a great thing that they have done. One, two, three, four, five, wonderful thing. That's fine. But when you come back, don't try to implement as if you are them. You evaluate whether that implementing one, how will it help your organization? Does it help in accomplishing your goals that you have defined in the strategic plan? So you think from your own perspective what is good for you, implement, and instead of just copying what someone else has done. That's very important, and you want to stand up for what your organization stands for. Right? The next is entitlement. So just because somebody is senior to the person by about, let's say, 5 year, 10 year, or 20 year, it doesn't mean that whatever he tells is correct. So you want to build a culture wherein the juniors, most staff can question the decision what is being taken, right? Otherwise, what happens if somebody who is about 60 years old takes the decision? He might have taken the decision which was from his background, but a 22-year-old guy know more about what's happening in the market, what are the new trends, rather than the 60-year-old person, right? So never the seniority, the entitlement, all those things influence and suppress the new ideas. So you want to build a culture of delivery, culture of innovation, culture of open communication in your organization. Otherwise, it's going to be a key risk in implementation of the e-governance. The next is the lack of resources. The next risk that I see in many projects, right, is the lack of resources. If you think that the project requires 10 lakh rupees amount of investment, but if you have got only 6 lakh rupees of investment, make sure that either you reduce the scope of the project so that you can cover it in within 6 lakhs, or do all the hard work upfront to get another 4 lakhs. Otherwise, you will end up in half done projects. Though that is as bad as sometimes not done projects at all. So you want to watch it out. The next risk that is all available, that is in many places, is the tendency of why change. If you don't get your all your staff and the stakeholders in the same page, right, so that tendency of why change will try to slow down your project. So bring enough momentum, bring enough enthusiasm in your team to make sure that everybody is aligned to your goal of improving the level of the e-governance. And the last one is trying to do all with your own in-house stuff. Just because you are a civil engineer, you are not going to build the entire house by yourself, right? You are going to work with a contractor who will mobilize the resources, who will get the cement, who will get the other material, and build the house. You will definitely do the guidance, but you are not going to build the entire house by yourself, brick by brick, right? Similarly, because you are a mechanical engineer, you don't build your own car. You go and buy the car from a established manufacturer. Similarly, when it comes to the e-governance, also try to take the help of the external experts. That gives you multiple advantages over here, because those people have worked with multiple scenarios, come up with the new things, new ideas. So that's the major advantage. Second thing, it is their bread and butter, right? And they are much more professional many times. So you want to make sure that you do a balance of what you want to do in house with what can be procured outside or outsourced. So that is the seventh part. So you consider the seven, most likely that moving from one level to another level will be a smooth one. Okay, here the example. If the management wants this, and if the communication is not clear, what you may end up is getting all these different things of communication and then getting this, right? And if somebody wants this, he communicated this, but what was explained was this, what was developed was this, what was implemented was this. So this is a mess, right? So the key takeaways for your um, this one are: take decisions, act on the decisions, get enough funding, document everything, ask for incremental improvements, be agile, be ready to change the things, all right? Because the things are constantly changing in the external environment. Be agile, manage the change, and test the software that is developed before you go live big bang, and then deploy. Don't let the software sit idle without deployment. Deploy it, start using it. Okay, then move to the next level. So the journey of e-governance is gradual one over here. It's not like suddenly here, then come down. No, 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 no. Go in a gradual improvement over here. So this is from the Keen book. Okay, and Here is my name, Vasu Deshpande. Let me go to one quote by Bill Gates, what he has quoted here. By the way, these are the references. Bill Gates said one thing: the advance of technology is based on making it so fit so that you don't even really know what has happened, right? You don't even really see the significant disruptions or anything like that. Gradually the technology will improve, and before you realize, you will be from this level of the automation to this level of automation. So that kind of project management, program management is what is required over here. And this is me, Vasu Deshpande, one of the founders of EasyLib Software Private Limited. We help a lot of companies automate their operations. First, we started with the library. Now we have got the entire campus automation software in place. The library covers physical library, digital library, the in-out management, visitor management, the display board, kiosk, student communication, discovery, the web OPAC, and so on. Anything related to the library, we have in our portion. And the campus automation software covers starts from campaign management, giving the advertisements, analyzing the spend, and so on. Then admissions, student information, staff, timetable, attendance, learning management, examinations, internship, placement, transport, everything that you need in this area. And the things like student counseling management, service desk, inventory management, the financial accounting, which is under development. All these come under easily umbrella of the products for your e-governance in your organization. Again, we are trying to follow the level 1, 2, 3, 4 here. So when you come with easily bright, automatically you will be in one of the levels and then gradually moving up. And so that's about EasyLib and myself, Vasu M. Deshpande, and this is my email ID and the phone number. Let me read out the phone number: 97422046224, and email ID vasumd@easylib.net. Please reach me as required, and our company website is easylib.net. Lot of videos are available, lot of training material are available, and we even offer the demo, full demo of the application for you to look at it, or even the trial version. Reach us, we will help you in your journey of e-governance. Thank you so much. Have a great day.